everyone, welcome to Talk is Cheap. None cuts, none censors. I'm your girl, Miss Carrie, baby, your host for tonight. And also, I do have a special guest for you. Sorry for the wait. But tonight we are going up live and we are talking about being a black woman in a predominantly white workplace, and just talking about diversity and cultural aspects. It's so crazy that I'm doing this tonight because I just was sharing with my guests that I have started a new job within the mental health field and the social work field, and I enjoy what I do. But we have also taken courses on having diversity in the workplace. It's always good, and to always feel respected no matter the race that you are, no matter your cultural beliefs, no matter the different aspects that we, for the people that we serve or what we believe, that we just come to work, no matter our position and everything, and everyone is respected. The way that you would respect the CEO of the company, you should respect your coworkers the same. Um, so that's just my opinion. But it's just a little bit about that. I found a couple of articles. Y'all know I like to give the facts about things or just a different perspective or more insight on what we'll be discussing tonight. And just really just letting you guys, get the feel and the dynamic of where we're coming from and everything that's going on in the world and things that have happened just this year alone. Check out my Black Lives Matter segment from June. It went really, really good. And then also check out different podcasts that I have been on. Some Guy's Opinion by Guy Ramsey. Shout outs to you. And also, just promoting new guests that will be on in the upcoming season, and just really thanking you guys for your support. So, just reading from Sierra Graham wrote this, and she said, I've been trying to figure out this challenging dance of how to be black, but not too black in predominantly white spaces my entire life. And Sierra Graham is also a black woman that wrote this blog on Career Contessa, and she has worked in a similar field, like my guest has, and just always just thinking about the inside of working in a predominantly white workplace, and always just feeling, she said that she felt like she was hyper visible and invisible at the same time. And so a little bit just about that in Sierra Graham's blog, she says race is omnipresent and operating in a system that continues to uphold a racist and gendered institutionalized practices as severe consequences for Black women who are trying to be both seen and valued in predominantly white spaces. You find that your Blackness is always on display while also feeling constantly ignored and alienated by the whiteness surrounding you. It is the hypervisibility that propels white people to involve law enforcement when they perceive black people to be criminals, suspicious, or as not belonging in particular spaces. It is the hypervisibility that forces women of color to change their tone, be less direct in communication, or use inflection when they speak. Sorry, when they speak in order to not be perceived as angry, hostile, or even worse, sassy. So I feel like we have found ourselves in Sierra Graham's shoes, and just working in, corporate America and wanting to be accepted. So that's what we're going to get into tonight. We're going to give the perspective of someone that, works in a high end industry, the oil and gas field. um, and she's an African American woman that works in a predominantly white space. Her name is Genesis Kemp. She's here tonight. Genesis is a compliance coordinator in the oil and gas field company. She's been there over 11 years. And she is also the author of her book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America. So, hi, Genesis. Welcome to Talk is Cheap.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Hi, I'm great. How's everything going out there? Shout outs to Houston.
Woo! Things are going well. Hope all is well on your end in the Dallas area. And thank you for having me on your show.
Yes, thank you for participating tonight. And it's always been a pleasure talking to Genesis. And before the show, we had another amazing conversation. We really do keep in touch here. And then she's going to probably come visit me soon. But yeah,
Yay!
I would enjoy that. We're within the same age group and just African American women that's working on our careers. Genesis is married and she does have a family and everything similar to me. I have a boyfriend and a dog. But we're just African American women, like I said, working on our careers, loving what we do, and also just trying to expand on what we can to improve our workplace and help our coworkers to, and then also just getting other people on board that may be going through the some of the same things. So Genesis, introduce yourself.
As Miss Carrie Baby has said, I want to get it right. My name is Genesis Amaris Kemp. I've been with this particular Fortune 500 company for 7 years. August 1st made 7 years. I have 11 and a half years of oil and gas experience. And outside of my full-time job, I am an author, and I recently wrote my first book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace, because I wanted to impart amongst other people hope, inspiration, and encouragement, letting them know not to let the certain limitations that other people place on you keep you in bondage. I've been married for 2 years, been with my husband for a total of 5 years. Um, no fur babies, but hopefully a real baby soon will come into the picture.
Yeah.
But until that happens, I'm just enjoying married life and spending time with our immediate family and etc. Life is a journey. It's definitely a marathon and not a sprint. So I'm taking a licking and keep on ticking and learning as I go along. I am an imperfect person trying to perfect a better version of myself daily.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree, and that's great. Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
So what do you do at your job? What I know it's a compliance coordinator, but give us a little insight on what that job description or that job entails.
So, as a compliance coordinator, I manage the relationships with some global distributors, as well as internal and external stakeholders. I ensure that certain information is filed accurately to the government. So, some things I can't discuss because it's proprietary, and just pretty much the gatekeeper to ensure that my particular company stays out of hot waters, that we're declaring things accurately to the government to prevent us from being fined and etc. So compliance was not something that I would have foreseen myself doing. It was something that I was mainly pushed into, or let alone voluntold. And I'm just grateful to have a job. But if I had my heart's desire, I would love to do something in either public and government affairs, marketing, or something where I get to see the fruits of my labor and the impact that I'm making, because I love people. I love nonprofit stuff like partnering with United Way, Junior Achievement, and just, being a voice to those who may not necessarily have a voice, or those who may be the invisible versus the visible. And I definitely believe that, based on my morals and my values, I want to be the hands and feet of Jesus, even though I'm an imperfect person trying to get it right. But I say, even though I'm a compliance coordinator now, it hasn't been that easy. I've only been in the role for a little, well, no, about 3 years now, but I did start with the company as an administrative assistant. So started at the bottom and worked my way up. And it was not easy to get to where I am, because there's a lot of chains and hoops that you have to jump through, especially being a chocolate drop, a Black or African American, whatever other people want to identify with. And it's
Mhm.
definitely you have to work twice as hard as your colleagues that don't look like you to have a seat at the table and to make sure you can eat what they're eating too. Hey, like I want to eat the lobster and steak dinners just as much as you do. And I do believe that what I do bring to the table, it is worth it. And sometimes people around you, when they don't look like you, they may not necessarily be willing to tap you on the shoulder because you are
Mhm.
different.
Yeah. So how is diversity at your job?
It can be challenging at times. We have certain metrics in place to say that we are inclusive and diverse. And sometimes
Mm.
I feel like the metrics are there because a company, of course, they're a business and they want to be protected and they want to say, oh, we're hiring this many black, this many Asian, this many Hispanic or whatnot.
Mhm.
But sometimes when you see those people, when you don't see them on a executive level, and then if you do see them on an executive level, there's not going to be a lot of them. So sometimes I feel like people say you have the Uncle Toms or you have
Mhm.
those who kiss a little ass to get ahead. But I
Yeah.
feel like um, diversity and inclusion, it should be representative in the company, and it shouldn't be like, in a particular pocket. And then in order to be diverse and inclusive, you also want to see those who don't look like you have a seat at the table where they're able to
Yeah.
speak and educate the rest of the corporation. But if you just hire those people, but you're not promoting them as fast as a Caucasian or a vanilla drop or someone that doesn't
Mhm.
look like them, then you're only checking the box to show the metrics that, hey, we are inclusive and diverse. But if those people are not
Mhm.
accelerating at the rate in comparison to another person, then you're failing the inclusion and diversity. And that's my
Yeah.
personal viewpoint.
Yeah,
If
totally
Does that
agree. Like,
answer?
don't you always feel like the person that the like when blacks do get hired on at a certain job, we're the ones, let's take a warehouse standpoint. We're not necessarily the supervisors or the CEO of that warehouse. We're the packers in the packing line, or we're the
Yeah.
ones that are having we're not the manager of these restaurants. We're the ones that get hired on to bust the tables or to be the waiters. So I like you said, I do really agree with you. And just knowing that we are, as a race, we have had to work 10 times harder than some. We have had to strive harder to kind of put our voice in and to become that manager of that company or to become that CEO. So tell me some things about like how your journey on your career path has gone.
So when I started as an administrative assistant back in 2013 with this particular company, um, if I would have known what I know now, I may have considered the other job opportunities that I had on the table because
Mm-hmm.
my thought was, okay, I'm going to come in as an admin because I want to get my foot in the door, knowing that I want to move on to other roles, not coming as an admin to want to admin always be an admin. That was not my heart's desire, nor was that what I was going to let fly. So when I hired on to this company, the money was okay, but it was less than what the competitors were offering. But at the time, I prayed because this was a big company and it had a suitable backing behind their names and they had other accolades. So I chose that company over some of the other companies as well as other reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
when I got there and I got into the admin role, I started to, work and, build some credibility and establish myself. But when it came time to move outside of that admin role, they're like, oh, well, you're currently studying psychology. Like, what do you plan to do with a psychology degree at this company? Or um, you need to have X, Y, and Z experience. But then I was like, don't I have that experience? That's one of the reasons why you selected me to come into an interview, because I had 4.5 years of experience previous at a smaller corrosion company. So I already had oil and gas experience, and it was technical experience. It wasn't necessarily administrative experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt like once I got in the company, it was almost like a slap in the face because I was like, hey, I'm now I've now been an admin for 3 years. It's time to do something else. And so I felt like at that point, when I kept hearing no's, I was a little upset at first, but then I tried to flip the script and I thought about no's as new opening or next opportunity. So whenever my back was against the wall, I started to look for other jobs, but those jobs never came. So I was like, okay, maybe that's God talking to me to tell me, hey, you need to pump your brakes and sit here for a little bit while longer. So then I took it a whole nother approach, and I went to my supervisor at the time and I said, what do I need to do to move on to another role and further myself as far as career development with the company? And he's like, well, first of all, you're not going to get anywhere with a psychology degree at a company that is predominantly engineer. So I was like, okay. So I kind of took that as, feedback is a gift. And I respected him for telling me that. So then I was like, okay, what type of degree do I need? So we talked about the different degrees. I was going to the University of Houston at that time. And I changed my whole entire major to fit this company because I wanted to move ahead. So I went from the College of Liberal Arts and Social Studies as a psychology major to the College of Technology, where I then chose to study supply chain and logistics in technology. And I ended up graduating from there with a bachelor's of science in that, as well as two minors, double minors. So one in purchasing and one in organizational leadership and supervision. And little did I know that organizational leadership and supervision would help catapult me to where I am now, because I do like the organizational piece, and I can see myself later on down the line being a supervisor, because I feel like in order to be an effective leader, you need to be empathetic, you need to be compassionate, and you need to look at the population as a whole and not for just what somebody could do for you. Because at the end of the day, in order to be successful, it takes teamwork. And I always like to say, teamwork is dream work, and two heads are better than one head. So if, like, for example, Carrie, you're good in your area and then I'm good in another area, once we come together and combine that, we're going to be extraordinary in our field, because we're taking your assets and partnering them with my assets, and we're going to be able to help one another. And that's one thing I like about you, talking to you offline, is that as two African American women in two different fields, we're able to come together and help one another in the respective areas that we're going in. And I think that's what it's all about. No matter what industry you're in, you should be able to identify someone that has certain skill sets and assets and reach out to that person to complement them, and not so to compare yourself against that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, completely agree. Completely agree. And then also just going into like what you were saying towards the end there, us just coming together to, that's why I do this platform, for us to all just give our insights and different things. And you guys, when Genesis hit me up, it was amazing, because she was writing her book. She had things going on. And then she also had questions for me. She was like, how can I implement mental health in the workplace, because we don't have that and we be stressing, type of thing. So let's just kind of go into that. How do you feel about your mental health within your workplace? Do you feel like your job is, stressful, or how are you handling stress?
It is stressful at times, and I feel that sometimes we should be able to vocalize when we're stressed without worrying about our metrics and performance suffering, because in life, everyone is going to be stressed at some point of time, and no one is perfect. And if you can show me a perfect person, I would love to meet them. But I know, I'm a broken person trying to work on being a better version of myself daily. And I feel like some days we're not always going to be bubbly, because we may have stuff going on at home. And I know they say to check your feelings at the door, but sometimes it's hard, because when you're a caring person by nature, sometimes when you love and you love hard, sometimes those emotions do carry with you into the workforce. And another thing is, sometimes when you like what you do, or you may not necessarily like it, you're still going to put your heart into it because you want your work to speak for itself. And sometimes you get to a point where you're burnt out, and if you go tell your supervisor, hey, I'm burnt out or whatever, they're going to make like a little mental note, or they're going to put it down in
Mm-hmm.
your chart or whatnot, because they're going to say, oh, you're not bringing your whole self to work, when they have to understand that, sometimes you do need a day off. You do need a personal day. I think a lot of companies should, instead of just having sick days and vacation time and stuff, they should have a mental health day, a day where you could just take off to recharge, rejuvenate, and recalibrate yourself. Because mental health is real, and mental health doesn't mean that you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're bipolar or schizophrenia. And sometimes I think when people hear mental health, they're so quick to put a negative connotation on it without realizing the whole scheme of what mental health is. And then when you have issues, they're like, oh, well, you could call Magellan, or you could call EHAP or whatnot. But maybe I just need somebody to talk to that can relate to what I'm going through without calling EHAP, because I know you say it's confidential, but is it really confidential? So sometimes when you tell people to call those things, people do wonder in the back of their mind if it really is going to be confidential, or if it's going to get back to the company, because the company is footing the bill for you to have someone to talk to. So sometimes I feel like people do have issues and stuff that they want to talk about, but they just choose not to call that number because the company pays a portion of that. So they rather try to deal and cope with whatever's going on the best way they can. Whereas if we create a welcoming environment and a safe place, no judgment free zone where we could get together and collaboratively talk, hey, I feel stressed about this project. Have you ever dealt with a project this way? How did you get over it? I think it will be, well received. And that's my personal opinion. But a way that I cope with my stress is, since I'm a writer, I like to journal. So I get a book and I journal out some of my feelings, or I use my phone. My phone is always next to me. There's like a notes app that I have on there, and I just write in my notes. Sometimes I listen to music. Like if I'm in the office, I'll just put on my headphones and try to tune out the noise and the negativity around me. So whether it's Christian hip hop, whether it's like trap music, gospel music, whatever, like I don't discriminate. So I have a variations of different music on on Pandora. It just depends.
I listen to everything.
It just depends what I'm feeling at the time, because like if I'm feeling down, I want something that's going to pump me uplift my spirit. But if I'm feeling down to the point where I'm trying to slip back into BC, and BC is before Christ, y'all, then I'll probably put on, some Christian hip hop, some Lecrae, some Zonti, Corin Hawthorne, or whatever to get me over that hump. Because I definitely don't want to have a breakdown at work, because I'm also the only African American or chocolate drop on my team. So I don't want them to have their unconscious biases and label me, not knowing what's going on in the background. Because people love to cast their perspectives, their perceptions, and love to slap a label on you without understanding the full scheme of what's going on.
Totally
I know that was kind of long-winded.
No, that was great. We just go with the flow. But and that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like most people would be, benefit better from their job, like you said, if they did have that mental health aspect of it, or that day to just, it doesn't count against you, it doesn't come out your PTO. It's a day for you to say that we care. And I have worked for previous companies that have implemented that day. But I'm also in the mental health social work field. So if it can be in the oil and gas field, or even for police officers, or even for nurses at work, if it could be for teachers some days, even though they get a lot of holidays off, they probably still need that one day to get away. Because I substitute for you guys, I do substitute teach on the side as well. I'm a person of, many talents and many jobs, and then I just like to expand my horizon. But a lot of teachers take off at the beginning of the year, and you're like, hey, you just started, but if they had that mental health day, they could, that didn't count against them, they could just debrief, do some self-care. I'm always for self-care, and I find myself meditating a lot of times. And then I'm also on the manifestation journey. I have crystals now, and it's not praying to, some people be like, oh, praying to rocks. So no, it just gives you a sense of purpose. And then you just kind of, read what the crystal's about. You can pray over them. I pray over mine a lot. And just really just like Genesis said, having that peace of mind before you go into work, or having a peace of mind before you walk into your house because something at work made you mad. So just going into, you talked a little bit about you being the only Black woman on your team. So just giving more details about that. How do you feel like you fit into that profile, or how
So
things at work?
sometimes I do feel like there is a sense of discrimination with me being the only Black, or like I say, chocolate drop, in my in my group, because there's different like microaggressions. Like, and one example was, I'm all natural, my hair. So some days I'll have it blown out, and then other times I'll try the single Senegalese twist. So it's like a 2-strand twist for some of you that don't know. And I put that in one day, and they're like, "Oh, you did your hair? Is that your real hair, or can I touch it, or
Oh wow.
whatever?" So that is a form of microaggression in a sense, because they're critiquing your hairstyle. But if you were to flip the script and tell them, "Hey Becky," or "Hey Susan," or "Hey Karen, oh, I see that you dyed your hair, you got some highlights, some low lights, or ombre or whatnot," they'll kind of look at you different. But because I'm over here changing my hairstyle, like, what's the difference between me changing my hairstyle and you changing your hairstyle? At the end of the day, I feel like hair is hair. And if I were to shave my hair off all today, kind of like Tiffany Haddish did, and go be
Yeah.
a Baldy, it's gonna
Don't
grow
do
back.
that.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's going to grow back. Hair is
Yeah.
hair. And I feel like, that shouldn't be a question. Or like sometimes people have told me like, "Oh, well, we didn't think you were Black
Oh
because you
wow.
like, because on the my voice, I'm very proper, and on the phone, like some people say, "Oh, you sound white," or they'll call me a Oreo.
Mhm.
And when they meet me in person, they're like, "Oh, you're Black? Oh, well,
Oh
yeah."
wow.
I'll
Yeah.
be like, "Oh yeah, maybe I just sat in the tanning bed a little bit longer, and now I came out crispy."
Yeah.
or I mean, like, how do
Yeah.
you interact to some of those things? Or another thing I heard, whenever this whole political turmoil, like, and I don't think
Mhm.
discussing politics in the workplace is acceptable, because we all have
Yeah.
our various viewpoints. But
Agree.
knowing that I'm the only African American person on the team, and you guys are going to talk bad about Barack Obama whenever he was our
Wow.
previous president, and I'm the only one sitting here at the lunch table. I don't care if it was on campus or off campus. It was off campus. If you're going to talk bad about him, what are you going to say about me, who's a chocolate drop? And so I just got on my phone, because I don't want to engage in that conversation, because we all are entitled to our opinions and our various
Mhm.
viewpoints. And I don't care, if it's Trump, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, or whatever. Like, we're all going to have our different opinions, and there's a time and a place to discuss that. But when you're in the workforce, I
Exactly.
feel like you should table that conversation, because you may say something that is offensive. And I took offense to it, not kind of, I did take offense to it, because they talked about him so bad. And I'm like, okay, oh, but I'm sitting right here and I'm African American. So I wonder what you're going to say about me behind closed doors, or when I'm not
Yeah.
here. And that was always in the back of my mind. So I felt like I constantly had my guard up, and I felt like I couldn't be myself around my coworkers anymore. Yes, I may joke and laugh with you, but I'm going to do it with you to an extent, because at the end of the day, I'm coming here to work, and they're paying me to get a job done. But that doesn't mean that we're going to be buddy buddies. That doesn't mean we're going
Mhm.
to go out to happy hour and stuff like that, because the minute I start slipping is the minute you're going to start creeping
Yeah.
and
Yep.
looking for little nuggets to plug back in the supervisor's ear. So I'm very cautious on who I hang out with. And in the workplace, I'd rather hang out with a male versus a female because I feel like females are very catty. They're very conniving in a sense, and they always think that, hey, she's gonna one up me or whatnot. Why can't we just come
Mm,
together and help one another? Because we're already in a male dominated field, so we're
yeah.
already a minority to the rest of the population.
Mm-hmm. Totally agree. Totally agree. And you hit a few points there, like just saying about, the stereotypes that people give off, like, oh, you talk white. And it kind of gets to you because it says, what is talking white? And like we were
Yeah.
talking about before, previously discussing, um, even though we joke about it, and not saying that we're always right to joke about certain things, about, oh, he talk white, or he think he's this, he think he's that. I have found that to get under my skin when even we joke about it, because sometimes certain jokes in the African American community can go too far, and especially when like a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on, some people wanted to say, well, no, they shouldn't kill us, they shouldn't be killing African Americans, which, yes, police brutality is totally wrong, they shouldn't be killing anyone, and yes, it is Black Lives Matter, but at the same time, when you add that, well, we've been killing each other too. It's black on black crime. And then somebody wants to come in and say, "Oh, that's coon crap," or you being for the white man and stuff. And it's just like,
Mm-hmm.
how dare you get up there, sit up there and say those things, but you're willing to tell somebody, "Oh, they talk white," or you're willing to say, "Don't call me this, don't call me that," when you're doing it in your own community and you're doing it to each other. So it's
Mm-hmm.
certain things like that, like you were saying, like perception is everything, because at least I do have that good white talking voice, you want to say, or I do have good customer service. Before you even meet me, you already have this great impression of me because you feel like I am a certain type of way or I look a certain type of way. And then also just to piggyback off that, even in my field, um, I don't know if you remember Genesis, but I shared with you, like, within social work, one of my clients, like, I will never forget this. I love her till this day. And that was almost 3, 4 years ago. But she was African American, and I knew that she was. I saw, sometimes you can give out certain things with your name.
Mm-hmm.
So it was one of those instances. I called her. I said, "Hey, I'm your new case manager, somewhat, whatever." She said, "Hello, do you look like me?" I said, "Do I look like you?" Yeah, I said, "Do I look like her?" I'm like, I don't know what she means. Do I look like her? Well, they said your name Carrie and da 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 da, And she goes on. I'm like, what does she mean? I look like her? Do you know that young lady got off the phone with me, and they have like different providers. She called her home health care provider, called them and said, ask her, is she African American like me? But she would never say, is she black or anything. She just says, does she look like me? So I
Mm-hmm.
think for the longest that I had her for a client for over a year, I think that I always went over her head like, oh wow, like I never, like, I guess she never met like a black girl named Carrie or something. So it went over, and like she, like, I think she held on to that so long till I just started kind of like, it was like breaking her down a little bit, engaging a little bit more. I would joke with her, and she used to just like blow me off and everything. And then it's like it took like a life changing thing to happen for her to kind of like start finally welcome me with open arms. And I'm like, and I used to mess her and be like, yeah, I look like you, like, and stuff like that. Because I was like, what does she mean? But that's the things that I be talking about. We'll even do it to our own community.
Mm-hmm. There's
And it's like,
segregation. Yeah.
yeah, it puts emphasis on them to do it to us. And you just be like, hmm. But if we were to, like you said, if you were to say that in your world, then there's a problem, or they're looking for something, or the black girl said something, or she's being insubordinate or discriminative in, the workplace.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah.
like
Oh, you can go. I'm sorry.
no, no, my bad. No, because I was gonna say that's a really good point because there's colorism inside of the black community because like people will
Yeah.
be like, oh, she's high yellow, like you're high yellow, or she's caramel, and then I'm over here, oh,
Mm-hmm.
she dark chocolate or milk chocolate or whatever they call me. So
Mm-hmm.
that is a form of colorism and a form of segregation within the African American community. So it's like championing, how do you get those people to get outside of their mindset and to see that we are all African American, we're
Exactly.
all blacks. Because some people in the black community, they don't even want to be called African American because they say, hey, I'm not from Africa, I've never been to Africa. So then you have to say
Mm-hmm.
black, or you have to say different things, and you have to be politically correct because you don't want to offend anyone. And I feel like a lot of people have their hearts on their sleeves. And yes, it's right to
Exactly.
be entitled to your opinion, but we have to know how to switch it up, because at the end of the day, even though Carrie is high yellow and I'm dark chocolate or milk chocolate, we're still going to try to help each other out. But that's the way that we were
Exactly.
raised, and that's the way that we were taught. But there are still some ignorant individuals out there that make it harder for her and I to get our point across, because they're so stuck in their ways on projecting a
Yeah.
certain thing that whenever they project it a certain way, that gives another race outside of us to condone that projection when it's not right,
Mhm.
but it's who they were surrounded with and the information that they receive. So it
Yeah.
takes her and I to come together to break it down and level the playing field, to let people know it's not okay. And there are
Exactly.
certain things that will be checked at the door, or you will get checked in a nice diplomatic way.
Yes. Thanks for the read. But yeah, Genesis, like I said, I totally agree and approve of that, because like it's just like I was reading when I was reading the article by Sierra Graham. She just really expressed, like you said, you feel like you're in a racist environment, or you feel like you are being in the invisibility or that visibility, where you're already perceived before you even walk up. Oh, she has a bad attitude, just by the look on your face, or like they say, the resting bitch face or something. Oh, she's a angry black woman, and it's just like, no, this is
Mm-hmm.
my face, but I really am having a lovely day. I was always perceived that as, in college, people would just come and sit at my table. It could be, women, it could be guys, anything. They would just come sit at my table and say, hey, I just want to talk to you and ask you how your day is going. And I just be like, okay, it's good. So what's up? And they're like, well, you're sitting here, by yourself every now and then, or I was kind of afraid to come talk to you, and I'm just like, wow. They're just like, well, your face, you look mean, and I'm just like, no,
Wow.
I'm not mean. I'm enjoying my food and now, go on about my day type of thing. But it always was, like I say, like the highlight of my day to just how many people that would happen with, and just to hear the different stereotypes and things that would come out of people's mouth about you just sitting there with your what I call your normal face, or you know
Mm-hmm.
just like, am I supposed to smile all day and be like, hey, yeah, it's not frolicking flowers every day. It's not like that every
Yeah.
day. I'm not I'm a morning person. I can get up early, but I'm not necessarily up talking and, hey, good morning to you. How's it going? I'll just be like, hey, good morning. Or, hey, good morning, y'all. I'm not going to go by each person and be like, hey, Genesis. Hey, Karen. Hey, 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 this person. Hey, that person. Hey, good morning, y'all. And just go on. But it's some coworkers, like at my current job now, my supervisor is a happy-go-lucky person any time of the day, and she cracks jokes all day long. She's laughing all day long in her office, and I just think it's so amazing because it does give off a good environment. Not saying that I'm angry, but it's just like every person isn't like that. So just to put that stereotype on people, or the black woman to say, "Oh, look at her," or what's going on, it does make you feel some type of way when you do walk into a certain corporate America workplace, or just, any job period, to feel like you're being watched, or they got something, you feel like you're more on the board than other people are if you were a different race.
Yeah. And I could definitely echo what you said with the RBF, so resting bitch face, because I had someone tell me, "Oh, you have your RBF on," and at the time I didn't know what
Wow.
that was. I was like, I was like, what is RBF? And she's like, for real, like you don't know? And I was like, no, I really don't know. And she's like, resting bitch face. And she told me that in the office. And I was
Wow.
like, oh wow. She was like
Wow.
an older Caucasian lady. So I guess she was woke. She was more woke than me. So I
Yeah.
guess I needed to watch a little bit more Blackish, that TV show, so I could be
Right.
it too. So I
Yeah.
could be it too. Because I really didn't know, as
Mhm.
God honest truth. And and it was sad because I was like, no, I'm okay. I'm just quiet, just in my zone, just try to, get through this day. And it may have been a day where I was watching the clock, waiting for the 8 hours to hurry up and pass so I could get the hell out
Exactly.
of there.
Yeah.
Because, there are some days where, you're not okay, but you have to fake it till you make it in order to get through your work day. And then when you get outside of that compound, you're free to be yourself because maybe something happened that day and you can't really express yourself how you want to, because when you express it, they're going to say, oh, she's an angry Black woman, or you're
Exactly.
so aggressive, or whatever. They love to put those little labels on it, even though you may be just compassionate about the subject and you may just want to get your point across, but they're going to articulate it for aggression or whatever the case may be, because that's their easiest cop out.
Yeah.
And so that's why I said I could definitely echo that, because I've heard that, the RBF and stuff like that. And I'm like, that really didn't sit right with me, but
Yeah.
okay.
Especially when you're in a good mood, you're just like, oh, I'm just sitting here. But
Yeah.
so also tell us a little bit about your book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America.
So my book, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, I have one handy. That's the cover. And the cover is very symbolic for a reason. So I'm just going to hold it up for a little bit because I want you to definitely see the cover. If you look at the cover, you see that there's people from all types of backgrounds professionally. You also see that there's all types of ethnicity on the cover. And you see that there's a world in the background. So despite the name being a little um, out there, Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, I want to let people know that this book isn't just for African Americans, even though the title says Chocolate Drop. The title related to me because I was the chocolate drop and still am the chocolate drop in corporate America. And I wanted my book cover to be inclusive as well as diverse, because there are various people in all industries that may be oppressed, that may face racism, that may face some form of discrimination, whether they have a disability, whether they're Asian, Hispanic, Latino, or whatever. They can face discrimination too. And then also, now with the whole Pride movement, those people may feel the LGBTQ or whatever it's called. Yeah, because I think they added another initial that I may not be versed on. So, y'all out there watching, please forgive me or correct me politely by sending me a DM later. They may feel slighted and they may have discrimination because there was a case a while back where they wanted to have certain bathrooms to be unisex bathrooms for those who may not identify as male or female. So that is also a form of discrimination. And then I wanted the world in the background to represent that this issue doesn't just happen in America, people. It can happen worldwide. So by reading my book, it talks about my personal experiences and journeys that I had to go through as an African American, also a minority. And I wanted to leave some wisdom nuggets to encourage other people as well as inspire other people that you should never let the limitations that other people place on you keep you in bondage. Because if you keep letting someone beat you down, you're going to start to internalize it, and you're going to start to self-project that on yourself and think that you are not good enough when in fact you are enough. So stop letting people try to place you in a box and control where you can or cannot go. So my book was birthed out of frustration because one day I was just so fed up. I was ready to take off my badge, put it on the table because I don't want to slap it down on the table because then they'll be like, oh, she's getting violent when I'm not getting violent. So, but then I heard that still small voice.
Yeah. Oh boy, I love her, y'all.
I'm just gonna be real because they love to say, "Oh, I was threatened. I feared for my life. She was
Yeah.
violent. You should just see the aggression." And I'll be like, "Okay, for real,"
Or the
because I took
training that
it
you
back.
have. Like I feel like I've had the most sexual harassment and policy anger policy trainings and discrimination trainings of my life within my career field, and speaking
Yeah,
for others as well. You just feel like, wow, like who be doing some of this stuff?
for real. I faced that too. Mild form of sexual harassment, but then again, I put him into place. I'll let you know that in a few minutes once I finish this point. Um, so my book is just very versatile. It could pertain to all walks of life, and it's going to actually encourage and inspire those who read the book because I want to let them know, even though you may be going through a certain situation, a certain season, just know that it's temporary and it's not always going to last. But you have to know within yourself that you have to take action now to secure a better tomorrow and a better future for yourself. And sometimes it's not just about me and Carrie, but it may be about the next woman or man coming behind us. So I definitely believe it's key to lay a foundation for those who are coming behind and beside us because you may not see the impact that you create now, but you may hear about it later on and your name may be brought up in the room because you were bold enough to take a stand and let people know the buck stops here and you're no longer going to treat me or anyone else this way. And it does take courage and you may face backlash and whatever, but if you don't, then you're always going to be suppressed, you're always going to be oppressed, you're going to be negative, you're going to be critical, you're going to get angry or whatever mixed emotions you may have because you were afraid. And fear, when I think about fear, I think about false evidence appearing real. That is real and that could really grip you. So if you're a man, fear could grip you by the balls where it cripples you, where you're not going to want to walk out your elements. Or if you're a woman, fear could grip you by the by the boobs because you're going to feel like maybe you have a sports bra on and it's restricting you because
Yeah,
you know that there's more to be done, but you're so afraid of what people may think or say about you. But I want to let you know it's okay to take a stand, and there's a way you could take a stand professionally without rubbing people the wrong way. But you have to do your due diligence. And if you don't stand up, don't expect anyone else to fight your battles if you're not going to be the one fighting for yourself.
exactly. Great points, Genesis. And just piggybacking off of that, fear. Funny acronym. But not, but it's also real. And like you said, if you don't do something about it in your workplace, because like we pointed out, they're willing, different races are different are ready to tell on us or to tell on each other for different things. But also it just shows what are you going to stand up for in your workplace, especially you like the job, you like management, enjoy your position, you've been there for many years. You do feel like you should have some type of, we all go through like that probationary period. So it's like you
Mm-hmm.
should have some type of, how I want to say it, seniority or some type of collateral to be able to say, I am, an active worker. I am a good worker. I work hard. I enjoy my job. I come to work every day and I make a living for myself or for my family. And these are the things that I am having a problem with, or these are
Mm-hmm.
the things that I do want to discuss, and they should be open. You have your HR and your managers that should be open to hearing those things. And like you said, it's always good to emphasize it, professionally, because you don't ever want to feel like you need, that extra push or you have to have that extra tab on us because we have to work hard for our stuff anyway. So you don't want
Mm-hmm.
to just always think that, oh, I have a degree, I got this, they won't fire me. No, they will. And they will replace you. But
With
at
someone
the end,
cheaper.
exactly. Or so don't always think that you're too good for it or overstepping your boundaries with certain things because they're willing to overstep theirs. So I think you should always have a voice in your workplace. Um, and always being able, like we said, come correct and being able to voice that opinion, and getting that point across because we are a generation of change. For over, since the 2000s hits, it's 2020. We done
Mm-hmm.
already seen a drastic change over these past 20 years, as
Mm-hmm.
millennials, and just us coming together. And not saying that we, it's ignorance is bliss. So that's everywhere, but always just those that are being proactive and being leaders, in this community in this day and time, and just coming together to strive for our community and make a difference for even any other races or ethnicities that's going through some of similar things that we're going through, because we do have to stick together. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Genesis, thank you for coming out. We do have a few comments, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
do a wrap up. So Katrina, she said, "Hey Genesis, hey
Hey,
Katrina,
Katrina. And I
thank
do
you
want
for
to
coming
piggyback on your last comment. You said, Carrie, if you don't
in."
mind.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
So I also feel sometimes, like, even though we may be faced with certain things. Sometimes we as African American are afraid to go to HR and speak about certain things that we may be experiencing out of backlash, because sometimes they say, oh, HR is, for the company. And a lot of times it is for the company, but sometimes they work in cahoots with the management. So even if you go to HR about a particular problem, they're going to say, well, in my field, have you talked to your manager about it? Or have you tried any resolution or whatever? And they'll say, okay, well, we'll look into it. Or do you have any facts? And then they'll say they'll get back to you. But sometimes you don't hear them get back to you. So then that's also not building a conducive environment if you feel like you don't have a safe place to go talk to someone about your problems. And I feel like that's putting fear back in people, so then people start to begin to internalize it again, versus being able to talk to someone of higher authority about a situation that may have occurred. And even though you have occurred an incident in your workplace, wherever you are, you should be open to talking to someone about it, as long as you have your facts and it's in black and white and it's a valid case. Don't just go there because you and your boss, had an exchange for words, or you felt out, because it's not a pissing contest. It's also about like coming to a resolution, so you both could be um working in a safe place with no judgment or whatever, because it's so hard to go to work whenever you and your supervisor are not seeing eye to eye, and you just pull up to the job and you don't even want to get out of your car because the environment is so bad. That's not a healthy space to be in. And um so I just wanted to piggyback on that as far as a HR standpoint. And then the other thing is, even though I'm not in a management position per se, I'm just an individual contributor, but I try to look for ways that I can influence other people, or try to help other younger people that are coming in the corporation by sharing my experiences and etc., and letting them make their own judgment, because I don't want to just, oh yeah, just bash the company or talk bad about it, because there's good and bad with every company. And I'm grateful to still have a job, especially in these times of coronavirus, when oil and gas is not doing so good. So you just really have to pick your battles and be mindful. But that's not to say that you should put all your eggs in one basket, because like Carrie said earlier, you could be with a job today but gone tomorrow. So you should always be either doing your side hustle or building your personal brand on the side, outside of the company's time, because you never know what the future holds, and you don't ever want that company to, cut it. Like, that's on, you need to cut it. You don't ever want to feel that way, and then you're like looking and you're like, oh, holy crap, I don't have a job, because you took so much time and energy building up someone else's brand that you forgot about your personal brand.
Exactly. Great. Great stuff, Genesis. A few more comments. Tawanda. Greetings, Genesis. Keep shining and showing up great. Hey, Tawanda.
Hey, Tawanda, thank you for watching.
And then the last comment's a hand clap from
Sherelle.
Sherelle.
Hey, Sherelle.
Hi, Sherelle. Thank you. And thank you guys for tuning in. Any last word, Genesis?
Sure, I
Chocolate
just
drop.
want to read the I want to read the dedications section really quick, just
Yes,
to
that's
sum
right.
it up, and then The rest, y'all will have to go buy the book to get the rest of the nuggets.
Yes, check out the book. I'm gonna buy it too.
So, ooh, thank you, girl. Dedication to Vanessa, my spiritual angel, my ride or die, my bestie, my little sister. Even though you aren't physically here, I know you are smiling down from heaven. Your legacy and impact will always live on. This is for you and future generations to come. So I'm passionate about the lupus movement because my little sister passed away due to lupus. Chocolate Drop in corporate America is also dedicated to every admin who was told they would never get out of the box. The one that the corporation places around you because they don't recognize your value and can't see past general administrative tasks. Admins, you are more than just an admin. Use your current situation to catapult you to your rightful platform. To every minority who has struggled to find their rightful place in corporate America, as well as any industry, I dedicate this book to you as well. You are the ones who had to constantly fight for a seat at the table, work twice as hard, even to be seen and noticed, and feel invaluable as if you are just a number to the corporation. Eventually, you find that one divine connection who can see your worth. Only then do you get a breakthrough. So in my field, they love to say you have to find an advocate or a sponsor. To every business professional in all walks of life, you are not forgotten. Everyone has faced and endured various trials and tribulations that could be spoken about, some of which were unfair, while others you turn from a negative to a positive. You have been emboldened to launch out deep and walk into your destiny, purpose, and calling. Those are to all my allies out there. To those who are willing to take off the blinders, do some self reflection, and work on creating lasting change in the workforce. Know that if we do not speak up, stand up, call out unconscious biases, and work on changing the mindset of those ignorant individuals, then we are only regressing instead of moving forward in society. Let's all come together and work collaboratively to make lasting impacts. At the end of the day, people, don't we all bleed red? Think about it. Lastly, I dedicate this book to everyone who has a dream, not to let people or things keep you in bondage. Follow your heart, share your story, travel, and be the best version of yourself. Someone needs you to pass the baton. Be their voice, narrate their story, or partner with them to create a revolution of opportunities. And that concludes the dedication section. The rest, be sure to get a copy of Chocolate Drop in Corporate America, From the Pit to the Palace. It's on Amazon in hard copy for $13, inexpensible. You'll probably spend $13 at Chick-fil-A. Or on Kindle for $2.99.
Yeah, I spent 2 meals at Chick-fil-A. 2 meals at Chick-fil-A. No, I'm about that, but girl. But yeah, on Amazon, 13 bucks. Got you. And I'll post a link for you guys as well that's viewing in that have not already purchased the book. She's doing great things out here in Houston, Texas. Yes, and thank you, Genesis, for supporting me in my journey and just sharing, your perspective on everything today as well.
I love your vibe and your energy. I love all the conversations we have offline. And y'all, I'm just so glad that, we had the courage to talk to each other. We met on Facebook and now we're, helping one another out. Carrie has an incredible podcast with a lot of great talent that comes on her show. So it's just really an honor to talk with her, or some people in the street say chop it up with her or whatever. But I'm just so grateful to her for having me on her show and just being able to, see the vision and appreciate the work that I do. And I really appreciate what she does because it takes people in her profession to help people in my profession get in alignment because Lord knows some people could go rogue real quick.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Genesis, and have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
So, everyone, you met Genesis, the author of Chocolate Dropping Corporate America, from the pit to the palace. Purchase her book on Amazon. She said $13. So support her. She's doing great things, like I said, out there in Houston, Texas. Shout outs to them. And just, praying for everyone and what they're going through during the coronavirus as well and other underlying conditions. And also pray for Genesis and her family as well. And then also just taking heed to the things that we're saying, stand up for what you believe in, stand up for your rights. And if you feeling like a chocolate drop in corporate America, or like we said, any other nationality, and you don't feel like you being discriminated against, you don't feel like you're getting your fair share of things that's owed to you, or the privileges of just being in the workplace and feeling a part of a team. And then, like I said, you enjoy your job, but there's some things that could be a little bit better. Not saying that you have to sit up there and go through hell on a certain job to just get a paycheck, but just also just noticing that you don't have to stress yourself out for things that can be changed, when you tell somebody or you tell HR what's going on, and they're always on your side. So just last comments for Genesis. She said, "Thank you guys for tuning in." And she said, "Thank you, Katrina, for tuning in as well." And I just want to thank everyone that tuned in as well. Genesis did post this on her platform and on her page as well. And it's always on Talk is Cheap podcast page. You guys like and follow, spread the word. And I also want to say I am still accepting guests, and it'll be yet to come soon. I do have a guest next week for you guys, another great guest. And everything has been going great. Love to everyone out there. I thank you guys for the support. I thank you guys for tuning in tonight once again. And then also just being mindful of the national hotline numbers. I love to put that up. And so we're out. I'm your girl, Miss Carrie, baby. Thank you for tuning in to Talk is Cheap. Enjoy.